This is not an Uber video. This is a political video, so different video on the channel. Okay, January 6th, 2023. Yes, I said it. January 6th, 2023. 2 years later, the anniversary of the protests, the melee, the insurrection, whatever synonym, whatever term you want to give it, we are now 2 years after the event. So the question we're going to be asking us today is, what the hell did we learn? What have we learned? Are we in a predicament where this could happen again? Have we done anything to ensure that if we have an unhappy group of individuals, they could not implement the same type of protest again? 2023, 2 years later. A lot of the players of January 6th, whether you see them as good or bad, regardless of what side of the aisle they may be on, a lot of the players that were involved in January 6th are still in power, whether it's the foes or the friends. So what have we learned? What do we do to prevent something like that from taking place again? Should we put more security at the Capitol building? Should we deal with elections differently so that we do not upset so many damn people come election time? What did we do wrong? What can we do better? As always, this is a MAGA-friendly program. I do not ban, block, or censor anyone for their commentary. First Amendment free speech reigns supreme here. I give you plenty of time in the box to state your point. The fact that you may disagree with the host never means a damn thing. But 2 years later, what have we learned? Was it a situation where the folks that were inside of the Capitol building were simply let in, invited in at the behest of the Capitol Police, or did they break in with full intention to unalive several members of the elite in Washington that caused the cries to off the vice president? Was that legitimate, or was that a joke? In the comments, we see DLC is saying, better yet, Hoodman is saying white privilege, which leads to an obvious question. If what took place on January 6th was implemented by a crowd that was majority people of color, do you believe the outcome would have been different? Knowing that on January 6th, one individual lost their life, which was Ashley Babbitt. If that audience, if that crowd was largely consisting of people of color, you think the same outcome would have happened? Because there's no shortage of folks who are black who believe it would have been different. Looking in the comments, don't matter. You don't do that. What's wrong with people? Well, they believed, and even though I'm a liberal, like I said, I always give my beloved MAGA a fair shake on the program. Even though I'm a liberal, they believed that democracy was being taken from them. They believed that their chosen candidate had won the election and that the opposition was wrongfully stealing it from them, which would lead anyone to be angry. However, there are folks who will argue that their anger was based on a lie to begin with. So that's where we go with that. But what about the folks who actually were ultimately charged and convicted of crimes for entering a building? A lot of them even pled guilty. Were they over sentenced? Were they under sentenced? Did they deserve to be sentenced at all? And how about the fact that President Trump has stated openly that if he was to be reelected, he would investigate or consider giving out pardons? Does that make him look better or worse? Looking in the comments. By the way, folks, like I said, MAGA-friendly zone. Feel free to come in the box. No censorship, no banning, no blocking. What do you think about the Brunson and Adams case? Cue me in on that, Amanda Davis. The Brunson and Adams case. I don't know about it. I don't condone it, but they took their problems to the source, not ruining their cities. McKay, appreciate that hat. Who the hell sent me that? In regards to taking it to the source, and I'll go right back to the box. Big Daddies, thank you for that cap. In regards to taking it to the source, when it comes to the issue with the election, whether you believe it was fraudulent or whatever, you think Nancy Pelosi had a play in that, or you think Mike Pence? I don't know if that was really taking it to the source. Thank you for for those shades there, Jared. Definitely much love to you. All right, so we're going back to the box. It is Eddie Current. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program. I think we have talked before. 2 years later, what have we learned in regards to January 6th?
Just a second. I'm trying to turn my stupid earbuds off.
Okay.
There we go.
While you're doing that, in the comments, Bubba says, Mr. Liberal, I'm open. I feel that both parties have a good point and bad points. I love to see you elaborate, particularly on the right, the folks who identify as MAGA. What are the good points? Go ahead, Eddie. Eddie, I don't know what happened in the box there, but apparently you have dropped out. All right, we'll move it on. I don't know what. I believe Trump is adamant it was stolen because he cheated and it wasn't enough. Wow. So how many of you folks believe that even though Trump made it clear that he believed he won by a landslide, how many of you folks in the comments, by way of yes or no, believe that he actually knew he lost and just refused to accept it? If you believe that, put yes. If you don't believe that shit, put no. But how many of you believe, because that came out in the January 6 hearings, that he was advised that he lost, but just refused to accept it because he thought he might be able to gain some capital in convincing the folks that he actually had won? Looking in the, I see a lot of yeses are coming in. Exmo, good afternoon. Welcome back to the comments. Exmo.
Hey, hello. How you doing there, handsome?
I'm doing good. Good to have you back. 2 years later, what the hell have we learned from January 6th?
The value of information control. You talk to people who believe that there was no crime committed on January 6th, in spite of the fact that there are hundreds of people now who have pleaded guilty or been convicted of crimes for their activities at January 6th on that day.
But let me interject. I'll let you continue, but let me interject. We, in our system, when the juggernaut of the government is on your back, the prosecutorial juggernaut, a lot of people plead guilty to crimes they didn't commit just because they're facing a hell of a lot more time if they fight it. Do you believe everybody that pled guilty is indeed guilty?
I'll tell you why I think so, yes. Because people who didn't do things materially different from those people and pleaded innocent still got guilty. Still got guilty convictions. So, I mean, that's why I would say. Otherwise, I'm very sensitive to the fact that our government does pressure people to plead guilty, especially if they only have a public defender instead of a professional attorney. That's the way that the rich get off and the poor, and especially disproportionately people of color, get put into prison. But that's another subject. But if you ask somebody and you say, and they say they have not found a shred of evidence, that's the way they'll say. There's not even one piece of evidence that they have found. And you ask them, why do you say that? Where do you get that information from? And they'll tell you basically the Holy Spirit told me, or I know it in my soul. And it's like,
wait a minute. I gotta chuckle at that because I get MAG on the program all the time that defends the protesters. I've never heard somebody say the Holy Spirit. Go ahead, keep going. That was funny.
Okay.
I've never heard that.
Okay. They don't say it. I call it that, but they basically make the argument that they know it intuitively. So they'll say, "Oh, Donald Trump would be in prison if something had happened," and it's like, do you know how this works? It's like for a lot of these people, they have no idea how a criminal prosecution normally works because this is the first time they've really had occasion to think about it. And they don't inform themselves on the subject because Donald Trump tells them not to. He gets up on.
Let me do what I tend to like to do, and that is play devil's advocate. I want to run two things by you. And by the way, folks, tap the screen, MAGA friendly. Appreciate if you get your boy up to 5,000 likes. Tap the screen, let your thumbs not be lazy. How do you respond to folks who suggest that They didn't break into the building. Here's video of the Capitol Police letting them in. And there is actual video, at least in one entrance, of people being let in. Do you think that anybody that was let in by the Capitol Police should face prosecution?
Yes, maybe not for breaking and entering, or maybe not for parading, but then there were people on other sides of the buildings that did break in. One of those
Right.
people was a leader of the Proud Boys who's now on trial, and right now people don't know this. I find I'm surprised how many people don't know this, but right now, today, Enrique Tarrio, one of the main leaders of the Proud Boys, and 4 or 5 other members of the Proud Boy leadership are currently on trial. They've been in extended jury selection because they got called to trial in Washington, D.C., and they literally cannot seat 12 jurors who don't already think these men are guilty. It's a real struggle to try and find 12 jurors
That's
who will actually
interesting.
give it a hearing.
That's interesting. You would say that they can't find 12 jurors that have already made their opinion up. You know why I say that? Because I enjoy talking to MAGA and I get MAGA on the program all the time. I had one caller say something that will always resonate with me, and it was in regards to whether Trump would ever be convicted. That individual said Trump will never be convicted because there is always going to be at least one MAGA on every jury. So when you're saying that they can't find somebody who disagrees, what happens if everybody is lying and saying, yes, let's go ahead and convict this guy when they're actually MAGA, hoping to be put on the jury so they can vote other way?
I don't see how that statistically is necessarily true that there has to be one MAGA in the jury. I mean, that's what jury selection is for. That's where they actually go through and ask people what are your political opinions, what are your political activities.
But what
So
percent of the country, what percentage of the country voted for Trump? It's got to be at least 35-40% of the voting public. When you say maybe not on every jury there's one MAGA, but particularly in the South, I don't see how you could avoid it.
I think that you can because there's actually a very low percentage when it comes to people who are adults eligible to vote who actually do go out and vote. A lot of people, we think of terms in terms of Democrats and Republicans in this country, but a far greater number, if you were to take all of the independents, all of the non-voters, all the people who don't usually vote or aren't registered or don't or register without any affiliation, they'd be the largest party in the country, right? So you could totally make a jury of people who have no independent political opinion. However, you take people who lived in Washington, D.C. when January 6th happened, and those people were terrified. They saw what
Yeah.
happened, and they
That
are
would be hard.
terrified.
That would be hard. Last question. I got to move it on, but I give you the last word with this question.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, the man said, we're going to march to the Capitol building, but let's do it peacefully. Do you hold him accountable for what took place at the Capitol building, even though he wasn't there and he's on record saying go peacefully?
Okay, so the most damnable evidence for me for Donald Trump is the language that he and his team used leading into up to January 6th. The fact that he knew that violence in the same groups that he was coordinating with had erupted in December in the same streets there in Washington, and that he knew that there were people. What we learned from the January 6th committee is that he knew that there were people who attended the rally where he was speaking who were armed, and then he still encouraged them to go up to the Capitol building, told them he was going to go with them. And we know that he tried to commandeer his own vehicle to try and force them to take him to the Capitol building so that he could arrive there. And then the fact that the whole time his inner circle, especially Roger Stone, were personally communicating with the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers leadership, half of whom are now, convicted at least of the crime of interrupting or preventing Congress in doing its job, or of parading, and in the case of 2 people already, seditious conspiracy. At least 2 more are going to come out of the Proud Boys trial. I'm certain of it.
Yeah,
So,
I would not be surprised at that. But I got to move it on, Exmo. You know what we got to do. Come on
yep.
back to anytime, man.
All right. Your favorite
Good talk.
handsome
Appreciate the accolade. Sorry to clip you a little soon, but I heard enough of it. I appreciate that. It's always an honor. Looking in the comments before we go right back to the box. As always, tap the screen. Get your boy up to 10,000 likes. We got 500 plus in here. This is a MAGA-friendly zone, folks. Even though liberals are welcome, MAGA they're my preferred guests. So I always make the solemn promise I do not ban, block, or censor anyone for their commentary. If you come in the box, give you plenty of time to state your point without any fear of censorship from yours truly. Looking in the comments, what is it? No taxes. I don't get that. Misinformation. Misread pill. Misinformation from who? The whole purpose here is to let the people speak. Everybody's not going to be on the same accord. That's why we get our opinions out here. Do you all know what drain the swamp actually means? Yeah, we know what it means, but who the hell has actually successfully done it? Appreciate the hat mustache, Zion. Thank you for showing your boy some love. It is Jonathan 3572. Good afternoon, Jonathan. 2 years later, January 6, 2023, Jonathan. What the hell have we learned? Jonathan, are you on the mic?
What's up, handsome liberal? Can you hear me?
Good to hear from you. Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear now. 2 years later, what the hell have we learned after the incident on January 6, 2021?
What I've learned is they still trying to do it again today.
Give me some evidence. Give me something you've seen that leads you to believe they actually want to do that shit again.
Man, we got conservatives saying happy January 6th, like it's a holiday. And you know, they like I said,
really,
are
there people really referring to it as happy January 6th?
Yes. You got people celebrating today about what happened on January 6th. And they doing the same thing today that they was last 2 years ago. They trying to prevent the peaceful transfer of power.
Yeah. Where have you seen, because you mentioned the happy January 6th comment, where have you seen people doing it? I have not encountered that. That's terrible.
Oh, they've been in my live today. I was on live this morning. That's one of the first comments I got. Happy January.
Yeah, you might have just encountered a troll. I mean, I got nothing but MAGA in here. Generally, I have a lot of MAGA in my life, and I haven't even heard nothing that far to the right. Wow. So you believe there are people who actually think that what happened that day was a good thing?
Oh, of course. You can ask them to tell you it was a good thing. If you just ask them, they'll tell you they think it was the best thing that ever happened.
So what can we do if you had the control of the reins, if you were in control of things? What do you believe we could do to prevent that shit from happening again? Because it's obviously not good for America to look like that on television.
We got to have some type of leadership to reach across the aisles and work with everybody. If we're not willing to work with everybody, it's gonna happen again. You know, if we can't find people to compromise, you know, it's gonna happen again. You can believe that.
Yeah, but let me play devil's advocate again. If you believe the election was wrongfully taken from you, how can the guy who you think is a thief reach across the aisle? What policies, what measures could you do rather, to reach across the aisle to a group of people that believe you are a fraud? How do you do that? Okay, apparently Jonathan is having some.
According to, what I do on my live, I just listen.
Okay, for some reason, Jonathan, your mic is going in and out, so feel free to come back through. Ray Epps, I see folks in the comments saying Ray Epps. We've talked about Ray Epps a number of times. It is believed that Ray Epps was a member of the FBI, and somehow one man was able to get into that very angry crowd and somehow instigate them to act in a certain manner. As if they were all going to be peaceful, and this one dude had the power to convince them to do something that they normally would not have done. I don't know where to go with that, but I see Ray Epps is in the comments quite often. Even if there was a woman walking through yelling 1776. There was Ramadan Shaman, the guy dressed like a Viking. I don't even think he was charged with instigating, even though he had a bullhorn and was clearly doing it. So I don't listen. If you're in a bank and you're robbing the bank, I don't want to hear who instigated and told you to do it. You know that bank robbery is wrong. Doesn't matter who the hell asked you to do it. You shouldn't do it. Going back to the box. Boosted one. Let's try this again. Party of Republicans, Party of Santos. I don't know about that. Even the Republicans are not happy with Representative Santos, the guy who was lied over and over again. Boosted one. Can you hear me? I'm having a lot of issues with the. Okay, there we go. All right, January 6th, 2023. What have we learned 2 years later?
The connection here.
Okay, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Okay. Unfortunately, we're having a hell of a time. I hate this way, but I do appreciate the fact that you guys are tapping the screen. We got 500 plus here, but the audio seems to be going crazy. Pelosi's phone records. What are you getting from that? Let me know where you. As a black man, we do need Trump back, says Big. What does that say? Is Big Licky or something like that? I'd love for you to hear you elaborate. Feel free to come in the box. I don't normally get a lot of African Americans that promote Trump, that identify as MAGA. You know I lean left. That's not a problem. I don't have any issue speaking to MAGA, particularly an African American. I would love to have that conversation. But I don't get many because at the end of the day, there is not a significant number of minorities that identify as MAGA. I think Trump got about 30% of the black vote, maybe less. No, actually less than that. But nevertheless, if so, you'll never be banned, blocked, or censored, or even talked down to. Come on in and state your point. Let's go to Mark Time. I don't know why I'm having trouble. The 5G logo seems to be on the phone. I'm being called an Uncle Tom as usual. This time it's by Bang, BLZ or something. Mark Time, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tim. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Welcome back. 2 years later, what the hell have we learned? January 6th.
We learned that Donald Trump and a network of elected Republicans committed seditious conspiracy on our country and embarrassed themselves. Whether you're talking about Four Seasons landscaping or 60 lost court cases or Carrie Lake's lost candidacy or Doug Mastriano's lost candidacy, that America does not accept these insurrectionists and domestic terrorists as someone who deserves elected office. The red wave didn't come to fruition, and neither did any of their little schemes.
So if you had to summarize, in your opinion, what do you believe Trump was trying to accomplish on January 6th?
Oh, absolutely an overthrow of the government. It doesn't necessarily matter the strategy. It like I've said this, it's the Fox News platform, the elected congressional Republican platform is what does Donald Trump need today? I don't think these guys are necessarily planning it ahead that much. If they were a little smarter, they might have been successful, but they're not and they weren't.
Yeah, I definitely believe that if that was more organized, I mean, they obviously were in the building. The Capitol Police were overran. The only mistake they made is they didn't go and pursue entry into the right door.
So much for the thin blue line, huh? Yeah, so much for the thin blue line, huh?
Yeah. Well, the police were obviously overran there that day, but how do you respond to folks who suggest that the police actually let them in? They didn't break in, the police let them in. How do you respond to that?
I mean that like whether you're talking about the army or the police, that there is a disproportionate amount of Trumpers who are in their ranks. So I'm not surprised at all. There was a video the other day of police letting Proud Boys through, like a train station or something. They think the same way as they do.
You know, I saw that video where the woman was complaining that the Proud Boys did not even have to pay a fare and things like that.
Exactly.
which falls in line in your question, is your statement that there is a possibility that the Capitol Police could have been MAGA as well. I mean, we know that the police department
Yeah,
has a lot of right and left wingers on it.
absolutely. It's not a matter of if people in the military and the police are MAGA. It's that they are, and they are at a higher rate than the regular population.
So, how do you respond to the idea that on that day when we needed help the most, Nancy Pelosi let us down by not bringing in the National Guard? Do you believe it was her job to do that?
Absolutely not. Trump sat on his ass and threw a ketchup burger at the wall, and while his daughter and his aides were begging him to do something, he watched it unfold for 3 hours and even egged them on with a tweet of Mike Pence doesn't have the courage. Like I literally watched the stream of everything as it happened, and I remember reading that tweet. I was like, this SOB is egging them on. Like it was, he thinks is like in a movie or something.
Yeah. But let me ask you this way. I'm gonna have to move it on, but before I do, I want you to answer this. Do you believe what Trump did on January 6th in regards to not getting on TV, not telling, not calling for peace for like 4 or 5 hours? Was it negligence, his actions, or do you believe he committed actual crimes that day?
Yes, I would also throw him in jail for a seditious conspiracy. I think he's a traitor. He put
Traitor
himself
to
over the
America.
country.
Yeah, but if you're a traitor, though, doesn't that generally mean you're operating on the behest of another nation?
I mean, himself. He put himself over. I mean, it's a seditious conspiracy. Being a traitor, whatever, doesn't necessarily matter to
Right.
me. It's semantics. He puts himself before anybody else. He put himself before our country. Mike Pence even said there is no idea more offensive that a single man could choose the American president. It's anti-democratic, which is what makes him a
Yeah, I
traitor in my
heard
eyes.
Laura Ingraham said something similar to that as well in regards to, I mean, there
Yeah, it's
are some
offensive.
folks. Yeah, there are some folks on the right that are now speaking quite negatively of Trump, but he's
Yeah,
still on the ballot. You think he has a chance of being back in there in 24?
absolutely not. He's done nothing but lose people. He's still trying to debate the 2020 election, and we saw how well that worked out for all of his, handpicked candidates. Blake Masters lost, Carrie Lake lost, Doug Mastriano lost,
Yeah.
Dr. Oz lost. Like, it's pathetic. The American people have said no, and so outside of like ruby red states like Alabama and Arkansas, these people are just not gonna. The American people finally. It's not. It's too close to call. Like
Yeah,
the
it
fact
ain't
that
over.
Herschel Walker.
Yeah,
Yeah,
don't rule him out. It ain't over. I
no, no,
gotta
no.
move it on, though,
But he
Mark.
won't win a
Appreciate
national
you coming through.
election. Absolutely not. So, all
All
right.
right.
Peace
Good
out, man.
talk, man. Come on back through. All right. And look, comments. I see, if I can't see the colors here. Diane Horn said, this guy is so wrong that you're allowing to talk. Trump 2024. There's nothing wrong with you wanting to see Trump reelected in 2024. I can totally understand reasons to want Trump and reasons not to want Trump. However, I will never stop someone from talking and stating their opinion. I believe your opinion is valuable, and therefore so is his. If you watch the program, you will notice I do not ban, block, or censor anyone for their commentary. It's a MAGA-friendly program. MAGA are my preferred guests, but I do let liberals speak. So I'm not going to stop someone. There are plenty of folks on social media that provide echo chambers. If you want to be on a conservative program where everybody has on a red hat and are stating similar opinions, there are places like that. Just like there are a bunch of liberal avenues you could investigate or you could go and enjoy that everybody's criticizing the right. We try to maintain civilized dialogue here. I don't even have a moderator here. It's because that's how we do it. We allow folks from both sides of the aisle to engage in civilized conversation. Very few trolls, and we make it work, folks. We do make it work. All right, looking in the comments. Epps and Pelosi talked before January 6th. I don't know if that alone means anything. Myra against the world. I like the name. Okay, let's see what Myra against the world. I love the name. You're one of the few, brother. I appreciate that compliment there, Brent. Myra, I don't know if it's letting you come on. TikTok is always crazy here. And by the way, folks, if this is the type of dialogue topics you enjoy, feel free to follow the program. I appreciate that. Helps out the algorithms. Tap your screen. Get your boy up to 15,000 likes. I don't know what happened with trying to bring on my last guest, but we'll keep it moving. Try here who had a problem with their microphone earlier. Boosted one. Good afternoon.
Yeah. How you doing?
Okay. I'm doing good. 2 years after the protest, the insurrection, whatever the hell we want to call it, what have we learned 2 years later?
I don't really know what we've learned from it. I think I've mainly been reading the comments and listening to the last guy speak. I kind of just I don't know what was going on with the connection before. I kind of backed out and came back in. It seems all right.
It's okay. Okay.
I'm not really
nothing at all. All of these court cases, a January 6th hearing, impeachments, we've learned nothing.
Not really. No, I mean, to what extent are you asking?
I mean, do you believe, based on what you've seen, what you've heard, what you've read, that Trump is totally exonerated, had nothing to do with it, or you believe he's guilty as hell?
No, I don't think he's guilty at all. I think people took matters into their own hands. They went there to protest. There were other people and I mean, you got to look at it a different way too. I mean, if say you're at a concert, right, and you've got a crowd of people and everybody starts throwing things because somebody on stage does something, you get 5 or 6 people that start throwing things, but then you have more people behind them that are going to say, oh, well, shit, if we can throw things, I'm going to throw shit. You have a lot of people that are like that.
What about the idea of yelling fire in a crowded theater? You don't see where anything like that could be tied, whereas you hyped up a crowd, and once they were hyped up, you told them to go to the Capitol building, knowing that it was improperly secured, and a melee took place.
Well, I was actually personally watching TikTok at the time when it happened, and I was watching people's lives. There were a lot of people that were live streaming what was going on, and I can't tell you the amount of people that I scrolled past that were, sitting there just saying, they're letting us in? What do you mean they're letting us in? And I mean, the whole crowd, there's like, they're letting us in. I mean, so I see
but
but
if the crowd is doing nothing wrong, then why would they be so shocked that they're being let in?
Well, I mean, when you go to protest basically the inauguration, I mean, you don't think that they would just let you in the Capitol for that.
Well, if the current president is Trump and you're protesting in favor of Trump, and he was the one that told you to go to the Capitol building, it seems possible that when you get there, it might be favorable.
I do agree.
Yeah. But do you believe January 6th would have happened if it were not for Trump's speech, the Giuliani speech before that, Steve Bannon's speech before that? Do you believe the uprising or protest or whatever you want to call it, do you believe that would have taken place if it were not for Trump saying that the election was taken from him?
So there's 2 parts to answer that question. I believe that, and I think they actually did a poll that I think it was 54% of people in the United States believe that there was election fraud during this past election. I think it was 54%, the last poll that I read on that, and that was done last year. So yes, I believe that he had something to do with it on getting people to go there.
Right.
Obviously, in support of the president saying something, the person that you supported said, this is what we're going to do. Go protest this. I mean, of course, that carries some weight. To say that doesn't carry weight isn't correct.
Right. Well, let me interrupt. I'll let you continue, but let me interrupt and say this. When it comes to election fraud, even though I'm a liberal, I lean left and I voted against Trump, I believe there was election fraud. I believe every single election we've had in U.S. history has had some fraud. Hell, I'm black. I couldn't even participate in most of them. So clearly there was some election fraud. But there is a difference between showing fraud and Trump winning in a landslide. Because you could have fraud. Go ahead.
So majority of I am not a Republican. I'm a libertarian, 100%. I do lean toward more conservative area than the
Right.
liberal portion of it.
Right.
There's a lot of standpoints that I don't agree with Republicans on. The whole, I don't know, I guess you can't say the abortion, on
Right.
here, but I don't agree. I don't agree
Pro-choice
with Republican
decisions. Yeah,
stance on that at
pro-choice.
all. Yeah, I am a 100%
Okay.
pro-choice. So that being said, I feel like a lot of people, as soon as the whole mass mail-in ballot was being pushed, almost everybody that I talked to about the situation kind of knew where this election was going to go when that came across. Because majority of people were talking about that at that point in time.
Yeah, but you gotta think that when Trump is telling folks for months to go in on election day and speaking against mailing in votes, yeah, you would have to know that if they make it easier for people to mail in votes, and there are still millions of votes that have been mailed in and have not been counted, it's pretty easy to put two and two together and say most of those mail-in votes are not for us because we've been speaking out against doing that.
Well, I'm going to say one thing, and I'm kind of going to leave it at that with this whole conspiracy theory crap that everyone wants to spew anytime something comes out that they just don't agree with happening. Almost every single thing in the last 5-6 years that has been labeled a conspiracy theory from the public has been proven correct 2 years later. Every single thing they said was a conspiracy theory.
Well, I make a point of talking to MAGA. That's my favorite conversationalist is folks who identify as MAGA. And I can tell you the conspiracies I've heard is that JFK is still alive. Hillary Clinton drinks the blood of infants. Trump was going to be
the Tupac crap. Yeah, no,
the point I'm trying to make is I've heard a hell of a lot of conspiracies that have not come true. The military was supposed to arrest Nancy Pelosi about 2 weeks after the election. So I've heard a hell of a lot of them that does not fit what you're saying. But I'll give you the last word.
Well, we're talking about two different conspiracies. I mean, we can talk about Tupac still being alive and all that, but I mean, I'm talking about the mass ones on the media, the mass ones that are being pushed on the media as conspiracy theory. Those ones are the ones that are circulating around the most. Around the origin of COVID, that was a conspiracy theory that it was created in a lab and made in Wuhan. All that was conspiracy theory beforehand. Jeffrey Epstein originally was conspiracy theory, and then him unaliving himself just happened to happen when the cameras went on. The guards fell asleep. I mean, that was a conspiracy theory that somebody went in there and did that. I mean, all that stuff is just crazy to think.
What about the notion that Barack Obama was born in Kenya? Do you consider that as a conspiracy?
I don't know anything about that, to be honest with you, because I didn't start looking into politics.
You've never heard anybody say that?
So I'm 30, so I didn't really get into the whole political thing and paying attention to politics until, I started making money and it actually affected my paychecks and my family and things like that.
But
I didn't really pay attention to Barack Obama.
But wait a minute. You just stated you said out of the last 5 years or so, most of those conspiracies have come true. That conspiracy I just gave you happened during that time frame, but you say you didn't hear about that?
No.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I got to move it on, man. Come on back through. This is our first time talking?
Yeah, man. I scroll past you a bunch. I'll sit here and watch for 10 or 15 minutes every once in a while. Figured I'd jump on.
Okay. It's an honor talking to you. Feel free to come on back through anytime, man. You're always welcome.
All right.
Comments. He was born in Hawaii, and followed by I see M. Clay Buddy said he was born in Hawaii, and right after that is Doug saying he was born in Kenya. Then why did Trump ultimately suggest that he was born in America? I don't understand I don't understand the whole goal of putting a Kenyan in the White House. It's not like Obama got elected and started doing all kinds of shit that was favorable to Kenya. He did more shit that was favorable to Cuba. I don't remember hearing any foreign policies involving Kenya throughout all of Obama's 8 years. If he was born in Kenya, he sure didn't do shit for this. Did he even go to Kenya during the 8 years he was in office? That makes no sense. And when I ask folks, if he was born in Kenya, if Kenya was able to successfully implement a Kenyan-born citizen in our White House, what was the goal of it? What was the purpose of it? I have not gotten a decent answer for that at all. Because if they did successfully put in the White House a citizen born in Kenya, it doesn't appear as if they got shit out of that. And that is a hell of a feat to actually successfully put a foreign-born person in our White House. They got nothing out of that. Can somebody show me anything that Kenya received as a benefit? I mean, did he even bring any Kenyans and give them citizenship? I don't see anything out of that. All right, let's go back on to the box. By the way, the question we're asking is, it's 2 years later, January 6, 2023. What have we learned? As always, this is a MAGA-friendly zone. MAGA are my preferred guests. Tap your screen. We should have 20,000 damn likes in here. Now, all these patriots and liberals alike, we can't get 20,000 lazy-ass thumbs here. Show your boy some love. Help out the algorithms. Bring your boy some more MAGA. Going back to the box. Peaky Blinders. Got some new stuff here. That's always welcome. We do not ban, block, or censor. Regardless of your opinion, you're always welcome here. Is that Peaky Blinders I'm seeing? Am I reading that right?
Yes, you are, sir. I have been trying to get on your live for a long time.
Welcome home. Appreciate the fact that you made the attempt. I do get some passionate callers, so sometimes it can be difficult, but I'm glad you're here, man. So what's on your mind today?
Well, I first and foremost am a liberal. I just want to tell you that, and I do appreciate that you welcome both, liberals as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think that what I'd like to express is that I think that all the people, we need to stop tearing each other down. We need to become one, and we just have to find common ground and go forward. And
okay, let me interrupt you. Speaking of you saying finding common ground and going forward, I have to ask this question. I asked it to a previous caller. How do you make that happen when one side believes that the current commander-in-chief is a fraud? How do you get them to actually work with that guy?
That is a very good question, and that is a very hard answer, or question to answer. There are X amount. I think on both sides there are so many people filled with hate that on my side that just don't have any respect for Donald Trump, and on the other side don't have any respect for Joe Biden. And I think that you and I kind of have the same goal, that we need to figure out and work together, like get together and make this happen.
Okay,
because if not, we're just tearing ourselves apart.
So let me present it to you this way. If Trump decided he was no longer going to pursue office in 2024, do you think unity might be more achievable then?
No, I don't blame Donald Trump. I think the problems we have in this country have always been there. And I never blamed Donald Trump for anything hate-wise. Like, I believe it's always been there. I think the people that believe that, on my side, that believe that he's the problem and he caused all this, they're definitely wrong. I call them right out all the time. It's always been there. As people, we're either, and not all people, so I don't mean to.
Okay, let me throw it to you this way, because this is the topic we're discussing. January 6th. Do you find Trump at fault for any of that?
No.
Okay. All right. That's interesting, because you lean left. I haven't talked to many liberals. So you believe the fault lies solely to the people?
I believe that those organizations that were there and any other people that were there have been brewing this in a long time. That was brewing. So no, I don't blame Donald Trump for what happened on January 6th. No, not at all. I mean, the people in general, we the people in general, have been mad at the government for a long, long time. regardless of if there was a Democratic or a Republican president in office. This has been going on a long time.
But the people that were there on January 6th believed the election was stolen from them, and they were told that by Trump. Now, I get folks being disgruntled with the government. You're right, everybody on both sides of the aisle. But believing the election was taken from them is a tenet solely of Trump. They wouldn't be there otherwise. And I have to ask you that. Do you believe January 6th would have happened if Trump was not telling folks the election was stolen?
I don't think so. I don't think in large part. I'm sure there were a number of people that believe that, but I don't blame Donald Trump for anything that happened on that day. I really
So
don't.
what? Okay, let's skip from Trump. When Giuliani says let's have trial by combat, do you hold him accountable for the violence that took place soon after he said that?
I'm a retired soldier, Army, and Rudy Giuliani shouldn't have said that. But I don't know, man. It's hard. I'm just so tired of our country the way it is, all the hate. I just want us to be bipartisan like we always were. We always managed to get through things, the good and the bad. I mean, I never ever voted party line. I voted for many good Republicans in my life. I'm 58 years old now.
Let me ask you this: in 2020, did you go with Biden or Trump?
In 2020, I went with Joe Biden. I will not lie to you. In 2016, I voted for Donald Trump. I currently
So
work.
okay, let's go with that. You voted for Trump over Hillary in 16, but you voted for Biden. So because Trump had a good economy, folks liked what he did with the wall. Folks liked his jobs numbers. What made after 4 years of Trump in office, delivering what a lot of folks thought was one of the best economies in recent history? What made you vote against him?
And that's a good question, and I'll give you an honest answer. I work for the government. I made a lot of money under Donald Trump. What I didn't like was his disrespect towards certain groups of people. I
You gotta
voted
give
for.
me. You gotta elaborate. You can't just throw it out there. I need
Okay,
those groups. Who are the groups?
I can get my head chopped off here.
Take your time. Take your time. Use synonyms, whatever you need to do. Take your time.
I was really saddened and hurt by his treatment of the Mexican people, especially the children. Uh,
Okay. Any other group?
well,
Take your time.
I really don't want to get into this.
You can't. You listen. You got the
I know.
guy, one of the only guys on TikTok that does not ban, censor, or block you. I'm giving you an open forum, and you won't give me what's on your mind. I'm gonna
I
pull this shit out of you. Keep
I
going.
know. I know. I gave you the chocolate cake, but I'm kind of
You
don't want to give you the glass of milk that goes with it.
Okay, all right,
I didn't
all
like.
right. I get it. You don't want to step across the line, but I can clearly see it on the floor. I really want you to give me your true honorable viewpoint, but if you don't want to give it, there's nothing I can say.
There,
But I
you
want to
know
know those groups so bad.
what's that?
I want to know those groups so bad that because I mean, if you made a lot of money under Trump and you were doing well, it has to be something significant for you not to vote for the guy to get reelected.
Okay, well, like I said, being a veteran, being part of the military for 20 years, I didn't like what he said about John McCain. You know, heroes don't get
Okay.
caught. I didn't just signal John McCain out for that. I signaled out all my brothers and sisters in the military going back. There's lots of groups. I just didn't like the way he was turning and starting to talk negatively about things that he really never experienced or volunteered for or Mexicans, the
That's a
military
fair point.
personnel.
And I mean,
Pardon?
that's a fair point. You're not the only one because what he said was, my heroes don't get caught. So if you were a POW, donate money to POWs and what they call it, missing in action MIAs and things like that. Yeah, there are people who felt that was a direct insult to those folks who have been
Sure.
captured in
Yeah.
the line of duty. So I can get that. Any other group other than what he did to McCain and, I mean, obviously the rapists and murderers comment.
Yeah. He called a certain country, the people in that country, a shithole.
Yeah.
I
So
There was a
based
combination of things.
Right, right. Based on what you're saying, I have to ask this question. I'm going to have to move it on, but before I let you go, I want to ask you this. There's a lot of minorities that refer to Trump as a racist, as intolerant. Do you see any validity for folks saying that? I mean, and you just because somebody is intolerant doesn't mean they cannot be a good president. Most of our founding fathers were intolerant, yet the country flourished under them. So, do you see any level of intolerance in Trump?
No.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Hey,
No.
listen, come on back through anytime. You said it's our first time talking, right?
Yeah, I'm going to follow you right now.
Appreciate that. Anytime I see you on, you're always welcome back, man.
God bless. Thank you.
You too. You too. Have a good day. In the comments, McCain was a war criminal. Seriously? You really believe John McCain? Listen, let me say this, because most of the folks who are critical since the Trump era of John McCain are the same damn people that wanted him to be the Republican president. No denying that. John McCain ran in 2008. Mark, appreciate that confetti. Shout out to you. Tap your screen, folks. 30,000 likes is possible with 800 damn people in here. This is a MAGA-friendly zone. MAGA are my preferred guests. Liberals are welcome. Don't ban, don't block, don't censor. You know how the hell we do this. Stevie D, appreciate that. But John McCain ran for the nation's highest office in 2008. You're going to tell me that most of the folks that could vote in 2008 that voted for MAGA, voted Republican, did not also support Trump? Or better yet, McCain in 2008? Appreciate that hat and mustache there. Some of the crazy things, I can't see the comment. Let me just say this real quick. This is a little personal tip. While I was talking to the last caller, I had to take my ass some Tylenol. You ever get a migraine? I'm getting them little flashy lines. I'm not hurting yet, but I'm going to have to probably wrap the line up shortly because I'm getting them little wavy ass lines. I don't know what the hell. Anyway, y'all, this guy is under investigation for being with a minor. Who the hell are you talking about? Who's under investigation for being with a minor? I'd love to know which politician you're talking about. All right, going back to the box. I'm not going to bloviate for long. Larry Thomas, 1-4. You guys are rolling with your boy hard today. Matt Gaetz. Oh, damn. Okay. Matt Gaetz is always in the news for something controversial. Wow. Let's see what happens. Trump said illegals coming are rapists and murderers, and I assume are good. Where's the racism? Trump said illegals coming are rapists and murderers, and some I assume are good. Well, first of all, the comment itself, and I'll go back to the boxing. I don't know what happened to my last caller, but Trump said the illegals are coming that are rapists and murderers, and some I assume are good. And you're asking, where's the racism in that comment? When you say I assume some coming are good, you are making it sound like the overwhelming majority of them are bad. You are certain that there are plenty of rapists and murderers coming in the country, but are there good people? Well, I assume there might be some. You realize how negative that comment sounds? You can say it's not racist if you want. Okay, fair enough. But it's clearly a horrible comment. It's clearly suggesting that the folks coming into this country illegally are bad actors. That coming into the country, which is indeed a crime, is not the only crime they're likely to commit. When you say, well, I assume some of them are good, you realize how bad that sounds? How anti-immigrant that sounds? Just stick with the phrase come here legally. Don't throw all of these violent felonies in there that you can't prove. It sounds awful. All right, going to the box. I don't know what happened with Larry, but we'll go back to try it with Jonathan. For some reason the box is acting flip. It evokes the fear of brown people. Wow. Good afternoon.
Y'all stop.
Hey, what's up? What's on your mind this afternoon?
Okay.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Were you trying to get that in there?
Okay. Unfortunately, the box has gone nuts, and I
There
got
it
a
is right
caller
there.
here that I don't.
You see a little silver wrench?
Okay, let me go ahead and drop this. Okay, I don't know what the hell happened there, but we had a caller in here that was not paying attention to the device. All right, Trump just regurgitated what his ignorant base wanted to hear. And that falls along the lines of folks who would suggest that under President Trump, the rise of hate grew significantly. And the FBI said that in 2017. So whether you agree or disagree with the FBI, that's your own personal choice. But they did state that even though they were being controlled by the Trump administration. In 2017, Trump was president, and they came out and stated that his rhetoric was leading to a rise in hate crimes. Looking in the comments. Buckeye 404, good afternoon. Welcome to the program. Let's go with Young Wave Sage. I see that. I said, for some reason, I'm starting to develop that damn migraine. I'm not facing any pains, but I'm seeing a little wavy shit in my face. All right, Young, good afternoon. Young Wave, can you hear me? Yeah, we got some kind of serious problem going in the box. Wow, that was interesting. The face was crazy there in the box. I don't know what that was, but I'm assuming that was a human. Republicans can't elect a speaker. Why is that? You got rid of Nancy Pelosi. You got control of Congress. You actually won Congress. You can't do something as simple as elect who's going to lead it. I talked about that on the previous broadcast, the lack of unity within the Republican Party. But let's go back to the box. Don't know what the hell is going on. Appreciate you to tap the screens. If you can get your boy up to 35,000 likes, this is a MAGA-friendly program. I do not ban, censor, or block. Fact is, my box sucks right now. We'll give it one more shot here. I'm just going to scroll down and see if we can get unglued. Let's see if this time. I don't know. TikTok's playing games with the box. Unglued. Good afternoon.
What is good, brother? How you doing?
It's a pleasure having you on. I believe this is our first time talking.
Yes, sir. I've been watching you for a hot minute, but it's the first time talking.
Great to have you here. Great to have you here. So we're asking a question 2 years after the protest, insurrection, whatever you want to call it, January 6, 2021. Have we learned anything 2 years later?
No, because I think it needs to happen more often. Instead of people rioting the streets and causing disruption within neighborhood and family business, anytime there's a problem with the government, it should be brought to the state building, your local government buildings, your courthouses, and stuff like that, because then it's going to be seen.
So when you say it needs to happen more often, should we have like an anniversary insurrection every 6 months or something like that?
I think when we'll use Black Lives Matter, for example, instead of, since it was most recent in the news and things that are happening, if people are really disgruntled, feel unfair, it should be brought to the state and federal buildings, because then it's going to make more of a statement, just like January 6th did.
So let's go with that. Black Lives Matter, for instance, which is often compared to in regards to January 6th. Black Lives Matter believe the police are mistreating them. So based on what you're saying, if they believe the police are mistreating them, they should go raid and set fire to a police house. Is that what you're suggesting?
I would not suggest and promote like violence like that, because this, I guess, committing a fire like that would be a terroristic threat. But the fact that the buildings should be surrounded, there should be people protesting, not rioting, to take over, to let them know that they're very unhappy with how their government is handling things.
But that's the point I'm trying to make. You're saying that Black Lives Matter should go take over a police station.
City Hall, courthouses, and police stations. Yes, sir.
You want them to go take over a building loaded with people with guns. You think that'll go well?
We have to
I mean,
stand
think
for.
about what you're saying. Think
No, I
about what
feel
you're
what you're saying,
saying.
bro. It might not end happy, but the fact that we have the right to protest, the government's supposed to be for us. It's not us for them. They're supposed to work for us. That's where I think people are getting it twisted. And me and you are both on the opposite sides of the playing field because I'm a conservative. But I
Right.
feel
That's
we
not
are
a
the
problem.
people. Me and you should not be fighting. Me and you should be sitting down at a table and discussing what's wrong.
Yeah,
Like,
but I have to ask you, how can you and I sit down and have an intelligent conversation if you believe I'm a fraud? How do I get you to work with me?
just like this. But see,
But you
there's
don't
not that
believe
many.
the guy I voted for. The guy I voted for, you don't even believe he won. What am I going to tell you? I mean,
I,
I'm trying to work with you.
I
I'm
think
trying
no,
to
no, I
work with
feel
you,
you.
but I'm being honest. Like, what
I
can I
think voter
possibly
fraud's
tell
been
you?
a thing. I'm only 43, and we've been hearing about unalive people voting for presidents and putting in. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
our system is
But
rigged to work for them, not us.
that's fine. But make no mistake about it. Regardless of how you folks may feel about Trump or not, he is an elitist. He's a one percenter, just like everybody else. No matter
Oh
who
yeah.
you
Oh,
like
he's
or
rich.
right, right. So when you say the system works for them, not us, Trump is a them. No matter how much you may like or dislike an elitist, let's say Hillary Clinton or Nancy Pelosi or even Epstein, Trump associated with all of those people. So he's not an us, he's a them. So what do you do?
I think we get them all out of office. I think we should slip into parliament. Like in the
Huh?
beginning, I did not like Trump. I thought he was a Riri, I guess I could say. And that was just because how he talked. But then I realized the man is just speaking with no filter. He doesn't care what people think. And as an older gentleman like yourself, like me, as we get older, we don't care what people think. We say what's on our mind.
That's why they put us in a home until we die. They don't want to hear that shit.
You ain't lying, brother. I feel
Hey,
you.
that doesn't work. They vote us out too. That's why
Yeah.
you. But at the end of the day, I have to ask: do you think that makes for effective leadership? Having no filter, saying what you want, insulting whoever you want.
I think we should because the problem with people nowadays is they want to, like, you and me as a friend. If I'm your real friend, I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
Fair enough. Okay, but here's the way I look at it. I strongly believe the folks, let's say like yourself, that believe speaking with no filter gives us a true viewpoint into the person and they should be able to speak their mind. I believe most folks who believe that actually support Trump because the insults were not aimed at them. Meaning that if we had Obama or we had Biden in office giving us the exact same economy as Trump did, doing the exact same stuff, but he was criticizing gun owners and Christians, I don't think you guys would ignore the comments. All of that, pay attention to what he does, not what he says. I don't believe that would matter. I think the reason people were ignoring the insults of Trump because the insults were not aimed at them. Because Trump himself does not ignore insults. He don't want people insulting him. So
Yeah.
how does that work?
I honestly couldn't, dude. I can't even answer that. Like, because I mean, it's all on your approach. Just like if I see you in the street and we come up and talk and we're talking, and if I say something to get underneath your skin, your average person from there
Right,
is not going to hear anything you say. So it's all on your
right,
approach. I think Donald Trump just he didn't care because, like you said, he's an elite. He has money, so nothing's really going to affect him. He's going to do what he wants, regardless. Anybody that has money is going to do the same thing. But
well, I don't know. Let me ask you this. If we could go back to 2015, 2014, you think Trump would have done the same stuff all over again? Knowing that his industry, his legacy is tarnished. In fact, I've said it before. If he does not get reelected in 2024, his legacy is probably going to go down in history as one of the worst presidents ever. He needs to get back in office to correct a lot of shit. If he does not get reelected, I don't see a USS Trump or Trump Highway. I mean, I don't see anything. He'll be like, I think in America, there are two schools, only two schools in this entire country that are named after Nixon. One is in Iowa, and I think one is in New Jersey. Only two schools is
Yeah,
named after President Nixon. I believe Trump is going to go under that category if he does not get reelected and heal some of those relationships. Do you see anything like that?
I think Trump needs a translator for English to, you know what I'm saying? Like basically before he goes out and speaks, certain a way to approach things, because that's where most people are getting offended by is his approach and the words he uses. I mean, now as I get older, like there's some things I won't recognize. Like I don't understand the pronoun thing. I'm gonna call you by your first name. That's how I've always done it. Like when you meet someone,
Yeah,
hey,
I'm with
I'm,
you on that. Even though I support the LGBT community wholeheartedly, the pronouns throw me off as well. I've done whole shows on that. I think
yeah,
they're moving too fast on it. I get it, but yeah, I'm an old dog. The new tricks don't come well.
I agree with you totally. I just think he just
So
needs to watch his mouth. We need someone like we need a businessman. We do need a businessman in office. We need someone that's going to get us together because our economy is falling apart and people are getting tired of it. And that's
I'm gonna have to move it on, but I'll give you the last word. Here's my spiel on the we need a businessman. I believe that there are pros and cons to running a nation like a business because a business, the whole purpose of a business is to be profitable, to work on the bottom line. And when you're running a nation, there are things that should not be profit oriented, such as the penal system, for instance, in this country. You shouldn't have incarceration for profit. I don't believe the medical system should be that way. If I down 911, them coming to help me out as a fellow citizen in need should not be profit oriented. So, and also, I will give it to you this way: Trump, being a very successful businessman, in a business, you get to operate on a my way or the highway. If the board does not like your, Steve Jobs, or if you're Bill Gates, if you think this is the way to lead Apple or the way to lead Microsoft, and the board disagrees, you can fire people. In
yeah,
the White House, you don't have that option. If you want to lead America in a certain way and people disagree with you, you get folks like John McCain who gives a thumbs down. You can't fire people in the White House. So if you try to run the country like a business, you're going to face all sorts of resistance that has actual power to stop your agenda that you didn't have to worry about in a business. So, in my opinion, I think Trump would have been far more effective as a dictator as opposed to operating in a republic. But I'll give you the last word.
all right. It was great being on here. The way I look at things, I feel that if I've been in a business for 30 years and I just hired you and you have no experience, there is something that you can put into me to add knowledge. That's why I moved to Vegas because it's multicultural and I want to learn. We can all learn from each other as long as we show respect to each other.
I like that. Come on back through anytime, man. Good talk. Really
Thank you,
enjoyed it.
brother. You have a blessed day, man. Be safe, brother.
Absolutely. Pleasure. All right. Comments. He was a dictator. I don't think who's that said that? Arrowton or something like that. Trump was not a dictator. That's not to say he didn't have aspirations to be a dictator, but at the end of the day, America is still a republic, democracy, whatever you want to call it. But he was big fans of Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin. So say what you want about it. A nation should be run like a family, not a business for profit. The liberal in me tends to agree with that. I think that a lot of things we complain about in this nation right now, the breakup of two-parent households, I believe even when you look at Christianity falling off, or whether you look at parents not properly raising their children, I think all of that is a pursuit of capitalism. A lot of the issues we complain about in this country right now is because the country is being ran like a business. And I'm not talking about from a Trump standpoint. This has been happening for years, where the corporations have kind of gotten their way. And as a result, the American citizens are working longer and longer and longer. And when you're working, most of your other life tends to fall apart. Your marriage, raising your children, they're being raised by the streets or being raised by daycare or being raised by the teachers at school because you're always working. you're not spending as much time with your husband or wife because one of you are always at work. I just strongly believe if you do everything on a for-profit basis, you might make profits, but you're going to start sacrificing everything else. It's just like any other slide rule system. You put more weight on this side does better, and the other side start lacking. And in this country, the almighty dollar. I mean, hell, think about how much we chase money in this country. You could have multiple wives, not be in your kid's life at all, be dying of cancer, but as long as you got money in the bank, you're successful. That's all we base success on, is how much you have, what you own. The rest of your life doesn't mean a damn thing. As long as you got money in the bank and you're making more money, you're successful. Even though the rest of your life may be an utter failure, you're successful. All right, looking in the comments. Better yet, the box there. I don't know what's going on with TikTok. We'll give it one more shot and see what the hell's going on. What's that? Unapologetic. Jazz, if this shit is going crazy on TikTok. Success ain't about money. It's about your happiness. It should be. But in America, there's a lot of poor, happy people. A lot of folks who do not have a lot, but they wake up, go to sleep well with peace of mind. We don't call them successful. Big J, okay. I can't. Okay, there we go. Good afternoon. We're asking about January 6th, 2 years later. Have we learned a damn thing on that? What have we learned 2 years on the second year anniversary?
Honestly, that we should probably stop listening to the media and the politicians and start talking to each other, because none of this crap that's being spewed on either side is really what's going on anyway. But I honestly just want to hop up here and tell you about migraines. Look into Lyrica. I don't get them anymore whatsoever.
No, I don't get them I don't get migraines very often, but when I see the little flashes, in fact, the time we've been talking,
I know what you're talking about.
I took a couple of Tylenol and it actually has went away, but I can see those flashes coming and I know that's when it's about to happen. If I don't take action, but I might get them maybe once or twice a year. So I don't have any significant issue with it, but I did feel it coming on. So
gotcha.
So I do appreciate.
Just wanted to say hi. It's been a while. I haven't talked to you in a long time, but I love watching your show, brother. You have a great day. Absolutely.
Good talk. Come on back through anytime you want to talk on the topic. All right. Comments. McCarthy needs to quit. 97% of Republicans want Jim Jordan. Is it? I don't know about that. You think so? 97%? Let me ask you this for you guys in the comments, because obviously there are no shortage of folks on the right. Appreciate the hat and mustache there. Was that Zoe? Yeah, Zoe, thank you. Appreciate the love. I don't get a lot of gifts, so I certainly want to show appreciation, show love for the fact when you guys do send shit. Hey, thank you. In regards to McCarthy, and there you go, Mark, with the confetti. Shout out to you. In regards to McCarthy, a lot of folks believe he's a rhino. Folks on the right. We're not talking about folks on the left. We understand where they're coming from. We understand where my side is coming from. But on the right, there's a lot of folks who believe that McCarthy has sold out his office, his soul, et cetera, et cetera. What about the fact that Trump has endorsed him, though? Does Trump's endorsement still hold any weight? Appreciate those pieces there. Unapologetic and Unglue. We talked unapologetic. I get you next. But what about Trump's endorsement? Does it hold any weight anymore? He endorsed McCarthy and suggested the Republican Party get unified and go ahead and run with McCarthy. Does that not hold any weight anymore? Let me know in the comments. We'll keep it moving. You guys are rolling with your boy. Tap the screen. Get your boy up to 40,000 likes. Let your thumbs not be lazy. This is a MAGA-friendly zone. We do not ban, block, or censor anyone for their commentary. I'll give you plenty of time in the box to state your point without any fear of censorship. Ain't that right, black man?
Yes, sir. Forget 40,000. Come on, people. Let us get them up to 50. That's easy. It's 700 of us in here.
Hey,
do the math, people. Get them up to 50.
That.
Come on, power tap, people. Power tap, people. He deserves it. Come on, man.
Shout out to you. So
that's easy work. Later. They gave Trump 250 million, right? Can we get him 250,000 likes?
Oh shit! 2 years later, what the hell we learned?
Oh shit, you don't have enough time. We do not have
Oh,
enough time. You gonna have to go
give me
live
the cliff
again at
notes.
7.
Give me the cliff notes.
Um, we learned that domestic terrorist groups are overwhelmingly grew and they vote Republican. We learned that our politicians are very close to these militia groups also. We found out that you can say whatever you want at a rally, but not in the courtroom. We learned that radicals have
Damn.
more power in the GOP than we thought. Like, I mean, I can go all day. That's why I said you're gonna have to go live tonight too.
So let
Shit.
me ask you to let me get your humble opinion on this. 2 years
Yes.
later, there's still no shortage. I've had him on the program right now today. 2 years later, there's still no shortage of people who believe Trump is not responsible for what happened. How do you respond to that?
America has unalived and convicted plenty of people for inciting verbiage or being involved in domestic terrorism. So I don't see why he gets a pass or anybody in Congress gets a pass for that.
But I gotta throw the devil's advocate standpoint. He said go peacefully. Does that give him no alibi at all?
No, I mean, it didn't give Larry Hoover, didn't give Italian Mafia, didn't give Bin Laden, anybody. It doesn't give you a leeway when you.
But wait a minute.
When,
Bin Laden ain't never said do shit peacefully. Bin
I mean,
Laden.
uh, I mean, that's how. If you talk about his followers, Bin Laden followers, they say that he's a peaceful person. So you can't
Yeah,
say
that's
that
true.
somebody's a peaceful person after you tell them to, trial by combat, and we watch 140 Capitol police officers injured. Like you can't say that after the fact. Is what I'm saying. Like.
Yeah, but the notion is on January 6th, the Capitol Police let them in. There's no shortage of people who believe that. Where they didn't all break in, they were let in. They were invites.
No, it wasn't no invite. It was we're tired of you guys hitting us with poles and pitchforks and the weapons that you brought. It's only listen. It's thousands of you guys. It's 200 of us. I don't know about anybody else, but a couple of billy clubs and tasers to the neck. Like I'm gonna move to the side too. You guys want to
Yeah.
take pictures and smear feces over the wall? Go ahead. But
Well,
can
let
we
me
talk about the fact that now look? Can we
speaking of
talk about
the
the fact that anyone, anyone that got close to the escape corridors where Congress was going down, they were unalive. Ask anybody that was around Ashley Babbitt because she and that group of people were the closest to the exit corridors where Congress was going down, and that's why she was unalive. And again,
well, but what
I
about
don't know
Ashley
why.
Babbitt? Do you think Ashley Babbitt was a justifiable kill?
I think that the officers, sadly, I will continue saying this, but it's sadly that the officers didn't defend themselves like they did Congress. Because, like I said, the last corridor, police let these were battling these guys for 2 hours in certain corridors, and they would not discharge their weapons. But when they got close to Congress, they had no problem discharging their weapons. I think that to me, I think a couple of discharges would have disturbed the
Yeah, but you're not
that
in.
whole
Yeah,
run.
but you didn't answer the. You didn't quite answer the question. Was Ashley
Oh,
Babbitt a justifiable kill?
oh yes, yes. I mean, and
Okay.
she was in the military for 14 years. She knew that that day there was no tours because people say it was a tour. Not that day, people. You know it was no tours that day because you guys tore down the rails that were they weren't even near the Capitol. The rails. So there was no
Yeah.
tours that day. So again, again, if people want to say that they should do that more to our government and keep the government on their toes, try it, people. Why do you think that
What
you guys
about
are
what
not?
about the? Did you see the video of the African American Capitol Police officer running up the stairs being chased?
Yes,
Do you think he would have been justified if he had shot the folks chasing him or shot at him?
yes, and I think that the people that were following him would have stopped at that stairwell when the first person dropped, just like they stopped when they was trying to get through that corridor and Ashley Babbitt dropped. I'm not saying that they should have went on a spree, but again, me myself, if I was a police officer and I see my partner being, dragged into a crowd, tased in the
Yeah,
neck,
but
and
okay, wait a
I'm gonna
minute, wait a minute.
discharge my weapon because I fear for my life.
Yeah, but I have to ask you if let's assume that one of those officers did what you're suggesting. I have to ask you
Mhm.
your humble opinion. Do you think that crowd that was inside of the Capitol building, you think all of them were unarmed?
Even if they were armed, they would have backed off. We saw when SWAT came. We saw when, again, like I said, if you look up any documents of them evacuating Congress, every last one of those officers' weapons were drawn. There's no coincidence that they didn't go down that corridor when they saw weapons drawn. I'm not saying that, again, it wouldn't have been a spree, but it would definitely
I don't
deter that
know. I
crowd.
mean,
It
I
would
don't know.
look when Ashley Babbitt dropped, everybody in that crowd, all those alpha men, all those MAGA and the shaman dude, and all of them backed the hell off because they didn't want to be next. And
I don't
that was
know because I see officers getting hit with flagpoles that you mentioned on the outside of the Capitol building.
mhm.
I see an officer getting chased up the steps. And I don't know if one of them pulling out a firearm would have been enough to, in my opinion, if that crowd is armed, they actually bear sprayed police officers that day.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know if I
Again,
totally,
the
yeah, I don't know
restraint
if I totally agree that if they had
because
pulled, if one of the
what
police
this
officers
is
that had
why
fired a shot, I don't know if I
this
totally believe that they would have backed off.
I totally I'm 100% sure that that crowd would have dispersed when they saw that the police wasn't going to have the restraint they had for think about 2.5 hours with battle ram,
Yeah,
like you said, bear spray for two. That's a lot of restraint that they're not used to any officer doing in America. That's a lot of restraint. Nobody in America was used to seeing restraint like that. Like I said, discharge here, discharge
that is
there,
a lot
crowd
of
disperse.
restraint. I
Yeah,
agree that the Capitol Police showed a lot of fucking restraint there.
a
There's no
couple of
denying it.
discharges, a couple of discharges, like what happened to Ashley, would have backed the crowd up, and all that alpha shit would have went through their pants. I'm telling you.
Last question. I wanted to ask you something. I don't kind of forgot what it was, but so you definitely believe Ashley Babbitt was a justifiable shooter. But why are there so many people that seem to think differently? We're 2 years later. I got folks in the comments right now that saying Ashley was murdered.
It's a I don't know why people are emotional over politics, especially politicians who aren't doing shit for us.
Corn
But
star. Yeah.
but to but to justify everything your side does, regardless if it's wrong, it's patriotism, and whatever the other side does, I don't see the united anywhere when we can't
Yeah.
even agree that being indecent or an inhumane person is okay as long as you're on my party, and that goes for liberals too. They do it too. I mean,
So
do
how
we
do
have
you
to stop?
respond to respond to the comparison of Black Lives Matter not being prosecuted for all of the rioting and looting of 2020 to what how much I mean because there's a lot of folks that got prosecuted on January 6th. How do you
Mhm.
respond to the fact that there was many riots all over the country and most of them did not face any form of justice compared to the overwhelming amount of them that did on January 6th?
I would say that people aren't doing their due diligence and getting on the internet and finding out that yes, a lot of okay, let me say it like this. It's weird that the same people are saying that Black Lives Matter just destroyed and got away with it were the same people saying that Biden and Kamala was bailing everybody out. So obviously people were charged and arrested for the damage that was done. Now, trying to compare it to January 6th, that's a totally different thing. We're talking about police brutality all across America, and you guys are talking about the tangerine tyrant who only ran because the apprentice show was going down the hole. It's not the same. Stop comparing it. We're talking about hundreds of years of injustice to black people, and we're talking about one man that says it's injustice against an election. It's not the same, people. Stop
One
comparing
powerful
Black
man.
Lives Matter. It's
I
disgusting.
think
That's what I mean.
yeah, you just alluded to how powerful that one guy is. Okay, black man, I
Exactly.
gotta move it on.
Always a pleasure, man.
Absolutely. Come on back. All right, folks, looking in the comments, do not get me started on Kamala is no good. Well, and I'm assuming Big D, with your comment about Kamala, you probably lean right. But however, there's no shortage of folks on the left that do not support Kamala. She is not necessarily the liberal darling of the party. I don't think, I mean, there's a lot of liberals that do not even believe Biden should run again, but they're not suggesting that Kamala become the backup. So Kamala is not very favorable on either side of the aisle. I don't know what else to say about that, but she got in there, as Biden stated, because he was going to appoint a person of color, a person that's a female, and she is of Asian descent, which I often use in defense of Biden supposedly being racist or intolerant. He just gave the vice president position to an Asian female and a black person. So that kind of kills that. But at the end of the day, yeah, she's not well liked. She really isn't. So most likely she'll go down along with Dick Cheney and Al Gore as VPs that never promoted themselves any further. Anyhow, folks, this is a lunch break live. Appreciate the fact you guys have been rolling with your boy. You could be anywhere on social media, and the fact that you have been here. It's always an honor talking to you. As I always say, I do not ban, block, or censor anyone for their commentary. This is a MAGA-friendly program as always, but liberals are welcome nonetheless. Nevertheless, it is a lunch break, and I have to step away and terminate the live. It's your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. Catch you on the next broadcast.